One of my favorite things to do is connecting with people. I get such a great energy boost from networking, both with old friends and new ones. And I also know how important it is to network, not just for how it makes me feel, but because it's also really good for my business. Recently, I decided to set a boundary. No networking for a whole month. And that's when it hit FOMO. I got hit with a huge case of fear of missing out. I was worried that saying no to networking would have a negative impact on my business. And you know what? It just wasn't true. Have you ever had to say no to something like that before? You really wanted to say yes, but you knew that the right answer was saying no because you had other priorities that required your attention, and then you worried about missing out? All that self-talk started popping in your head? Well, if yes, then you're in the right place today. I've invited a special guest expert on our show to help you set boundaries without the guilt, without the FOMO, and leave behind people pleasing. Jessi Sheridan is here today, and she believes something that I believe in too, that you are not meant to do this life alone, and that you hold the power in designing your best life. Here's a little snippet on what you can expect to learn from Jessi during this episode.
What I love doing is helping women see their potential, stepping into that potential and coming out, making maybe it's a pivot or maybe it's, just having more clarity on what they want in their life.
If you're just tuning in, I'm Jody Silverman, the host of Beyond Emptiness, and I'm so glad you found us. Everything we do here is about community. It's about knowing that you are not alone on your midlife journey. I believe in the power of community so strongly, especially during this next chapter of life, that I've even created a private, secret Facebook group in addition to this show for you to come into and meet and connect with other like minded women. So let's plan on meeting up inside the group after this episode. The link will be in our show notes. But for now, let's dive into how you can begin designing a life you love because you deserve it. Hey, Jessi, welcome to Beyond Empty Nest.
Hi, Jody. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Two local Philly girls here hanging out, talking a
Yeah.
little bit about boundaries and people pleasing.
Yes.
I'm very
Oh,
excited about that. And although we will have your full bio and how everybody can connect with you below, I
yeah.
always love starting out because we all have stories, right? We all have a
Mhm.
story about where we were, how we came to be doing what it is we're doing. So, what is your story, Jessi? How did you end up doing this work all around, you know, designing a life you love by
Yeah.
boundaries and people pleasing? Share a little bit about that.
I won't give you like the whole day long story, but my first job out of college, I traveled as a leadership consultant and I traveled to 32 colleges and universities working with college age women, helping them to develop their voice, their confidence, and really take this level of presence that they had to the next level. And I really loved that job, but living out of a suitcase after a year got really tiring. And I thought, how can I continue to do this level of work, help women see their true potential without living out of that suitcase? And so I went on, got my master's in higher education, thought I always wanted to work with college age students until I didn't, and realized that what I really love is continuing to work with women leaders, but women who are in the, post graduation through, later in life in their career. So I, 3 years ago, actually, almost to the day, I had COVID, and like many of us at the time, and I was sitting there thinking, what's the impact that I want to have on the world? What am I doing with my life? It was like this existential conversation I
Yeah.
was having. And I had a great job at the time. I was a chief operating officer for a global women's nonprofit. And I just knew, though, there was more for me to do. And so I decided I was going to start talking to women in my network, and maybe I'll figure out what I want to do. And so I started Habitual, started off as a storytelling platform and was meant to be a 1 year project.
There you go.
We are now in year three. But after year one, I had interviewed 93 women in the Philadelphia area, t telling their stories out into the world, giving them a space to share their truths. And through that, I really realized that what I love doing is helping women see their potential, stepping into that potential and coming out, making maybe it's a pivot or maybe it's, just having more clarity on what they want in
Yeah,
their life with this idea of you have the power to design the life that you want.
yeah, I love that.
And that comes with setting boundaries, checking yourself when you're people pleasing, and really looking at what you want versus what you need. What is it that I want to be doing? And so the project went from 1 year to 3 years. We have now featured almost 200 women. I'll interview my 200th person in the next few months, and it has grown from being simply a storytelling platform to a community of women who believe in the power of lifting each other up, supporting each other through business and life, and ultimately designing a life that they love. So
Oh,
that's how we are where we are today.
you said so many great things in your story, and I'll share with you a big one because we have some big things coming for our show.
Yeah.
And I won't do a spoiler alert for our audience of big things. And one of the things that I have noticed through my years of supporting women in empowering themselves through life transitions, such as empty nest or retirement, whatever it might be for them, is that every woman that I sit in this Zoom room with and
Yeah.
record a podcast and I ask them to share their story, there was always a question that they asked themselves
Hmm.
that led to the clarity.
Hmm.
And you said it's like, what is the impact that I want to make?
Yep.
I love how you started out with college women
Yeah.
because we don't know who we are in college. Very few of us. And unless you're like my daughter who knew I want to be a journalist,
Right.
like who really know, I didn't know who I was. I was never more lost than I was in those 4 years.
Yeah.
But I find that almost, I would say 99% of the women that I speak with and men when they come to this place in their life where they're like, okay, what is it I want to be when I grow up, no matter how old?
Hmm.
It starts with a question
Yep.
and a
Yeah.
feeling like there's got to be something else.
Yeah.
I
And
love
that
that.
and it's like getting curious about what's
Yes.
happening in the world around you because I still don't have all of the
No.
answers, but the answers are out there if I ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And that, led me to like this new, I always knew I wanted to be a leadership coach. Okay, great. Let's formalize that. And so the questions, getting curious led me to now being the person that's always
Yeah.
asking the questions for others.
I love that. I love that. All right. So let's talk about designing a life you love. It's a big statement.
Yeah.
And I love how you said we are, and I'm 100% behind this. It is our responsibility to build and design a life we love. And it's possible. Life hits, things happen. Yes, and, which
Yeah.
is my favorite thing, yes, and from improv.
Yeah.
We have the power to design the life we love, but it starts with a few key ingredients that we need to build a muscle around. And I know that one of the things that you talk about, and we're going to talk about right now, is the importance of setting boundaries under that umbrella of designing the life you love. So
Hmm.
let's talk a little bit into setting boundaries and without guilt, and
Yes.
complete without guilt, like what boundaries are,
Right.
and maybe a couple, the importance of them, and a couple ways we can do that.
Yeah. And Jody, that year when I was traveling is and I was a young person, I was right out of college. And I realized 2 months into that job that if I didn't start setting boundaries, that I would burn myself out. I would never make it through to
Mhm,
the end of that contract.
mhm.
And so at a very young age, I realized that I had to really start putting myself in the true driver's seat. I had to be the one with my hands on the steering wheel
Yep.
and deciding what I let in and what I didn't. And I think I have to say, I feel that's pretty remarkable as a young person to realize that at such a young age. And I think that that's how I'm able to help people
Yeah.
now because I was able to do that so long ago. And without guilt because I knew I couldn't do the job. I couldn't be my best. Whatever hat I'm wearing, I couldn't be the best at that if I didn't set those boundaries and put myself first. And so the key to it, though, is deciding and figuring out, identifying what are your top values? What are the things that are very most important to you? And I have always been very clear on what those things are. It's my family, it's my health and well-being, and it's my integrity. And so when I am thinking about setting boundaries, which most of us don't sit around and think about all day long
No,
what boundaries we're setting, but
no.
when we start to feel like this, like, that doesn't feel good, well, that's probably a place for a boundary. And what's happening there is your values are being compromised. The things that are most important to you are being compromised. And that's why you feel that ick.
Yes.
And that's when you need to build the boundary and say, okay, I'm not going to check my emails after 6 o'clock in the evening because it actually impacts my health and well-being. The next morning, I'm exhausted because I didn't turn off in the evening.
Yep.
Or and another example I see a lot of is people going on vacation and not actually going on
Oh
vacation.
no, and this has been in the news lately
Yeah.
a lot. This in the new. We're recording this. It's the summer,
Yeah.
and it's been in the news a lot that it's 24/7 work
Hmm.
hours.
Yep.
Flexible work hours are great, but
Right.
flexible has turned into you're on call all the time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I like the phrase of like slowing down to speed up.
Yep.
We all have to slow down and create that boundary and say, for the next 4 days, I'm going to turn off. I might read a book, a leisure book. What a concept. And just enjoy my time with my number one value, my family, because that gives me energy to be able to keep doing the things that we're doing when we're not on vacation.
So it's interesting. I set up a big boundary. I just took it down and re-edited it because I was in a better place. But as I mentioned, I'm doing a lot of big, bold, daring moves within my business.
Yeah.
And I realized I wasn't getting anything done.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing any one part of it well because I was still doing everything else, all the networking I was doing.
Mm.
And I had this fear if I stop networking, I'm gonna lose my connections. And it was all fear. It was made up
Right.
fear, because that's not true. I
Right.
mean, you could take a break from networking. And I put an away message
Good for you.
that's literally said, big, bold, daring things are happening. And if I'm going to ask you to dare on, I need to dare on. Pause on all networking. If you're looking to connect and you want to network, please reach out to me after Labor Day.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I put that there.
Yeah. How
And
does it feel?
it felt great. I got so much accomplished. I let it go. I got messages, Jody, we can't wait to see what's happening. Talk to you in the fall. And I just revised it because I completed a lot, but I did revise it. And it does, and it still says that, these are my office hours.
Hmm.
Because, Jesse, one of the things that I think has created such a hard place for people to set boundaries is the cell phone.
Yep.
And you can get messages. I get messages on Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn,
Right.
DMs on Instagram. It's like email. I'm like, stop the madness. I can't do it. And the easiest boundary, and I talk about it all the time, the easiest boundary really is turn off your phone,
Yep.
turn it on silent. I put it on airplane mode
Hmm.
so it doesn't make any noise. I remove it from my office,
Yeah.
and I set a time limit on like 2 hours. But I love what you said. If you're going to respond to emails on a Sunday, you're training your clients
Yes.
to know that you work on Sunday.
Absolutely.
You can't be mad at them.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's easy it's not easy, but we have the tools right there to do it. We can turn
Right.
things off. We can
Yep.
put an away message to let people know, hey, if you my standard away message is, if you're receiving this, it means your email landed after 5 o'clock on Thursday, and I'm off until Monday.
Good for you. That's
I mean,
amazing.
but it's
Yep.
bold, it's
It
and
is.
sticking with it though.
Right. Sticking with it and doing what works for you and for me, turning off all notifications, I don't get any push notifications to my phone. I sleep with my phone. My phone is in the bathroom while I am sleeping. And if you know that that is something that is going to take some extra
Mhm.
discipline, how do you remove it from like your workspace or your
Ah.
sleeping space so that it is not a distraction and it can help you keep the boundary?
Before we move on to people pleasing, because
Yeah.
that's also part of boundaries, I do want to ask you about one part of setting boundaries. I want you to talk to the audience and our listeners about boundaries aren't just about you.
Right.
It's actually, you say to set boundaries without guilt. I view it like boundaries are a gift for other people because you could start resentment if you're not putting boundaries in place. So can you talk a little bit about how it's not just to support us, it's to support our other relationships.
Right. I always think of when you are setting boundaries, you're telling others how you want to be treated and how you want your space to be treated and how you work together. And I find that holding firm on boundaries gives other people the permission to do the same thing.
Yes.
When I, years ago, when I was working, and had a big team, I if I, to your point earlier, if I was responding to emails on the weekends, that would teach my people that maybe they should be doing that too. Instead, not doing that, giving them this permission to enjoy their weekends and really allowing them to say, well, if my boss can have boundaries, I can have boundaries too. These are healthy for
Yeah.
us. And I think talking about those boundaries is even more critical, especially if you're working with a team or your partner at home and talking about here are the things that here are my no's or my yeses and here's how I want to work within them. How does that sound to you? And
Yeah.
making it part of the conversation so that it gives others permission to share their boundaries as well. And then we're all sort of working within what works for us and if somebody starts stepping over the line, you can say, "Hey, remember that time we talked about this?"
Yeah.
And so it just makes it more of it gives that permission and it gives folks the opportunity to really set their own and hold each other accountable to holding those boundaries.
I love how you say you model the behavior that you want for others and others will follow. I love that. Love that. All right, but also within building the life that we truly love and that we need, there's the boundaries.
Yeah.
There's also something called people pleasing.
Yes.
So what is people pleasing? And I'm curious, like how I never considered myself a people pleaser, but now that I'm saying it, I'm thinking about some things. I think we all have a little bit of it in us. Some have it more extreme. So talk a little bit about what people pleasing is
Yeah.
and the roots of that
Out of
behavior.
199 interviews, I would say almost half, if not more, have shared that they are people pleasers. In women innately, in general, tend to be people pleasers. We want to please those that are around us. And so therefore we say yes to a lot of things that we may not want to say yes to. And then that leads to resentment, burnout, all of these things that don't feel good in our body because we're doing everything for everyone else instead of pleasing ourselves and doing what works for us in that moment. And there are going to be times where we have to do things.
Yeah.
We're obligated to, we are required to, but then there are times where we put ourselves in situations where we could say no, thank you, and step away, but we say yes because we're afraid of how the other person might feel about us, judge us, fill in the blank. One way that you can look at people pleasing or the level for which you are or are not people pleasing would be to look at your calendar. How many things on your calendar do you dread that are on that calendar?
That's a good
Right.
one.
And are those things that you could have said no thank you to, but now you're in them and they're on your calendar?
Hmm.
And the challenge with people pleasing is that we're telling our inner critic is saying, "Oh, you have to say yes. That person won't ask you to do this again." Or, we have to do every single networking event because we might not, get enough clients or whatnot. And at the end of the day, we're exhausted because we've said yes to everybody else without really saying yes to ourselves. And so when presented with an opportunity or something that comes across my desk, I have to pause and say, is this something I really want to do? Does this align with those top three values that I shared earlier? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then second question is, okay, but do I still want to do it? Do I want to do
Right.
it anyway? Will I regret this being on my calendar later? And so taking that pause, making time to ask yourself those questions, and then you can decide if you want to really do that thing or take that opportunity. Because oftentimes we just say yes, and then you're like, oh shoot, I'm stuck. Now I
Yeah.
have to do it.
And you're going to show up in a resentful way. I mean, it's not the other person's fault that you said yes. They didn't hold
Right.
a gun to your head and say, I want you to come to this networking event. Say yes, please.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
was one of the things. I'm part of a local chamber,
Yes.
and the executive director has been amazing at bringing me in to things, to inviting me in to discussions about the chamber and events. And I felt so grateful for it. I love to be involved, and yet I need to step away.
Hmm.
I need to step away. And she totally understood. I sent her, I called her, I actually left her a voice message because I'm like, if you have something important to say to me, or if I have something, I'm not going to
Yeah,
send it in a text message. I'm going to
right.
leave you, talk to you, or leave you a voice so you can hear it in my voice. And I said to her, I said, I so appreciate you bringing me into this. I'm not going to be able to come to the next three meetings.
Yes.
This is what I'm focusing on. I know that you understand. Like, I didn't apologize out the wazoo because I have a
Right.
right to be able to do
Right.
that. But I realize, as you're talking about people pleasing, yeah, I'm a people pleaser. I want to do for people because, you know, I want to feel like I'm giving as much as I'm asking for.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I want
And
to.
and I think many of us are innately givers, right? We want to give because we
Yeah.
like to help or helpers, if you
Yeah.
will. And so being able to say, I can help to this extent.
Hmm.
I get people reach out all the time. Jesse, can I pick your brain on this? And there have been so many people who have received that email from me and
Right.
have said yes. But it's a matter of keeping them again a boundary. Okay, my days that people are picking my brain is only on Friday mornings. And once that Friday morning time slots are filled, it's on to the next Friday or
Yeah.
the following
Love that.
Friday. And so it's a mix of I want to be able to say yes and also within my boundary.
Right.
That allows me to show up with energy that that person needs or that activity or engagement needs. But saying yes all day long, I would never be able to take clients. I'd never be able
No.
to, do marketing and all the things that I need to do for my business. So,
And I think the thing that we glossed over, and I don't want to gloss over it, is you gave a really good strategy on, and this is for boundaries as well as people pleasing because they're tied together. Because if
yeah,
you're saying yes because you want to people please and you're not setting boundaries,
right.
they everything ties together. Um, it's taking a pause. That's a big one for me.
Yep.
Don't the false belief that we have to say, give
Mhm.
somebody an answer right away. Pausing to say, okay, is this in alignment with my values? Is this in alignment with what I need to do right now?
Right.
Will this prevent me from achieving this goal?
Right.
And then even if it's yes, but do I want to do it anyway?
Right.
That's a big one because maybe you want to do it anyway. And it's like, okay, so I'm gonna, I'll be a little setback this week, but I really want to do this.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's really checking in with yourself. And here's something else that I started to do. If I'm invited to something, I'm like, well, how time sensitive is it? When do you need an answer from me?
Sure. Yep.
You can
Just
ask
when
that.
can
People
ask that
don't, we
question.
make an assumption people want us to say yes or no on the spot.
Right.
No. And that's with family too. We're talking just business.
Right.
This is with family. My family, we're big celebrators. We celebrate everything. So when do you want to come over? We want to celebrate your birthday. We want to do this, we want to do that. Okay, well, wait a minute. I need to check with Sam
Yeah.
and we need to see what's going on with my kids
Right.
and with friends. I have a huge social circle. I'm very lucky. But yet I want to make sure that I have some free time so when my adult children want to spend some time with me because they don't live close by,
Right.
that I'm not completely scheduled out of my life that I can't
Yes.
see my children. So asking when do you need an answer for this by is
Right.
it's a boundary.
And I find that when I say, what would be my deadline for this? people are always like, oh, like a week or so, so much more time than my brain immediately thought that I
Absolutely.
had.
Yeah.
And then I can schedule out appropriately based off of the deadlines that I have. So yeah, it's very helpful.
All right. So bringing it all together, because who doesn't want to design a life they love? But I like how you say design it because it is,
Yeah.
you go back to the beginning, you said it's our responsibility
Yep.
to design our life that we love. And yes, people and circumstances will try and get in our way, they'll take us off course. But getting back to the beginning about your values, so that it's important to know what are the three most important values in your life. So bring it all together for the audience. What do you want them to end hearing about designing the life you love as it relates to boundaries and people pleasing? And then offer your dare.
Yes. I would say really spend some time getting quiet, doing the inner work that it takes to know what are those things that are most important to me, and create a vision for yourself. What does designing a life look like for me? What does a day look like? What would I be doing if I was doing what I love in my life? And for some people, that might be what they're already doing, but maybe they've got a little bit more time to go to yoga or spend with
Mm.
their grandchildren, whatever it might be. How do you get more of what you want in your life? And that takes a design. It doesn't just show up. You have to be intentional, designing what you want, what those days look like, and making that happen by putting those boundaries in place that allow you to live the life that you love. The dare goes hand in hand,
Yeah, it does.
and that is dare to put yourself first because so many of us are caretakers, whether we're caretaking for children or for elderly parents or relatives, or innately givers. And that turns into people pleasing. And then we are depleted ourselves. And so, my dare is if you could take every single day, even if it were 5 minutes, to put yourself first. Maybe it's a 5 minute meditation. Maybe it's an hour-long yoga class. Maybe it's a walk around the block. Or maybe it's scrolling Instagram. If that brings you joy, whatever it is for you, take that time every single day because we're in a world that is moving so quickly. And if we're not intentional with giving ourselves, putting that oxygen mask on for ourselves, we will become depleted. And then
Yeah,
we're no good for anybody,
no,
especially ourselves.
I love that. And dare to put yourself first. And then I love the question you put out there. Ask yourself, what does designing my life look like to me? What does it look
Yeah,
and add the word feel? What did it feel like to put
right.
yourself first? I love that dare. Love it because that's a hard one for everybody. You're gonna
It is hard.
light a candle, burn your incense, find a place in your house to sit with that question and get a journal out and just start writing, right? Like
Yeah.
dare to put yourself first. All right, Jesse. I know we're going to put some links in the show notes below, but is there one place that you would like to send our listeners to if they want to find out more about your work and how they can learn from you?
Yeah. Habitualleadership.com is the best place to go.
All right, and that link is below. I'm so happy you joined me on Beyond Emptiness. We could have a year-long conversation about boundaries and people pleasing. It could be like a whole year-long series. Ah,
We
there's an idea, right? Just something else to add to my plate. But what was your takeaway? That's what I want to know from everybody. What was your take? We always want to hear what your takeaways are. So, what are you more of a people pleaser versus a lack of boundary setting person? Let us know. Let us know. You can hit the fan mail button in the show notes. You can leave a comment in the form of a review at Apple Podcasts. Message me. I'll make sure that Jesse gets your message. And dare to put yourself first. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Beyond Empty Nest. And as I always say, dare on. How does your inner critic try to keep you from standing in your power? For me, it was that moment of FOMO. What does it sound like for you? Does it sound like, well, they'll be mad at me if I say no to their party? Or maybe it's that voice inside telling you that you're going to be disappointing someone. Whatever it is for you, that inner voice is usually wrong. I know, because helping you quiet your negative self-talk, that's my jam. It's what I love to help women learn to do. silence their fear, their doubt, and limiting beliefs so that you're able to then design and live your best life. And to help you, I have a gift today. I took my 21-day self-talk cleanup challenge and created a 7-day mini challenge for you. Because let's face it, 7 days is so much more digestible than 21. And I believe that you can do anything for 7 days if you put your mind to it. So get started on quieting that inner voice with the link in the show notes. And then come to the Facebook group and share one thing you were able to say no to. Don't forget to tune in next week when we're getting real about having clarity and confidence with our finances. Dare on.